But the first one, Eidos Montreal, was really focusing on the multiplayer aspect of it. I would say they did work a little bit on the on some of the single player maps, but it was not as much as what they did on the actual multiplayer. On Rise of Tomb Raider, they actually did a lot more on the single player content. Especially because now there was just the single aspect, there was not the multi like they did on 2013. So the critical path, they work on, I think was about a fourth of the game, something like that on the main path, critical path. And we did a lot of challenge to Montreal. On Shadow, the role was reversed because Crystal still worked on Shadow, and they did an amazing work. Some of my team, some of my people from Crystal, you know, I continued working with them on Shadow, and even though they were a smaller team, they did amazing work. They did some, you know, they help us, the team, with the synergy between the team. I would say elevate even the quality of the game. Like it's like a jolt for the new people coming in. When I started, funny enough, when I started working on Shadow, I was still a Crystal employee. So I became an Eidos Montreal employee a little bit later on. It was the beginning of pre-pro when I became Eidos Montreal. The very little team was, you know, very familiar to what they did on Rise, and from a Montreal standpoint, it was a very small team at the beginning. And Crystal Dynamic was still supporting me at the time at the beginning. So what they did is that they had a smaller team, about the equivalent of the team that Montreal was when they supported Rise. And they was working on some of the core maps at the beginning. With Montreal, we were working on both core maps, and it became at the beginning more distinct. Okay, Crystal was doing this map, and you know, the specific map. Let's say it's called map 1, 2, 3, and then Montreal was working on map 4, 5, 6. Eventually, everything blended together because the two studios has different ways of approaching games and have different philosophy, even though there were some from the same family, and having both strength coming up together, and then, you know, it made the game even more unique. So when we're looking at Shadow the Tomb Raider, where yes, Montreal was the lead and Crystal was following, still what the team at Crystal did was very, very important. They didn't do like the leftover thing. They did some critical thing, very important thing. So the team was, for me, was important that they do things that make sense for the game and has some soul into it. So the same thing with Montreal. So when Montreal came in, and then the whole team was part Crystal, part Montreal, the team knew each other because they worked before at Rise. So I would say, and even before in 2013. So I would say that there was already some synergy from the core team of Montreal because they've been working, some of them same time as me, you know, same amount of years as me, 8 years, even though they were in Montreal on the franchise, and they knew the people that was from Crystal. And Montreal focused more on the system side of it, you know, building system, new mechanics, building the social aspect of it. And there's a lot of things like that we built in Montreal because we had to use the knowledge of people that worked on Deus Ex, on people who worked on Assassin's Creed or games like that. They come up with all that knowledge of how to create a world that feels alive and feels like this could be a city someplace. And I would say that was very distinct to how we worked together.